I gotta admit, when I opened this case, the original case, and saw this guitar, I actually got chills. Because this is the very first guitar that my dad bought for me when I was a kid. Same color, same pickups, same year. Yeah, so when Paul dropped this off, I mean, it took me a couple of days before I got around to looking at it, and I thought, I cannot believe this. That was many decades ago. So we're going to put a compensated nut on this, and we will set this up so it plays silky smooth and perfectly in tune. And as always, you got to play by play. Cheers. So the action was unreasonably high on this, essentially unplayable. First thing we did was check the truss rod nut to make sure it works. Put a bit of load on that. It does work. We've got a high spot here, another high spot here, and here. The center's okay, it's just two outside edges. Now I did check the frets to make sure there was nothing lifting, because typically they do lift on the outside edge. There was one spot where it was lifting, and I wicked a little bit of CA in there, held it down. That's fine. Next spot is here in the center. Outside is okay, and here on the treble side. And as you go in a little further, it's fine. These are the spots that we need to take care of. So the nut has been removed so that I can finish my fret dress, and that is what we are about to do. A little tiny bit of wear on the first fret, second fret, nothing to warrant pulling the frets. These are the original frets, and we will keep the original frets. Well, you know, I have to say, this BenQ lamp, I'm loving this. The fact that it's got that long, sort of swooping light surface makes it fantastic for any type of fingerboard work. Fingerboard leveling, fretting, installing frets, dressing frets, edge dressing frets. Boy, it's a beautiful light. Nice for us old timers. Quick buff with some jeweler's rouge. You've got a 3-inch diameter canvas wheel. When you're working on any guitar, obviously you want to be careful. The guitar is held. I'm not worrying about it being crushed or wobbling or slipping. You want to make sure you keep this wheel moving. Guitars of this vintage especially, you don't want to linger over that plastic because you'll either knock it off or melt it. So keep things moving. a quick wipe to get rid of those chalk marks. This fingerboard has a super high arch in it, so we're going to start there by radiusing the underside of that overhang. Put that fairly close even on the first time through. Now we need to thin down that leg. The nut ledge on this guitar is actually narrower on one side than it is on the other. So. So you can see that this string is pretty well going right off the neck. There is not a lot of forgiveness, but all 6 of these need to be sort of shuffled over ever so slightly to get these strings to line up with the 2 outside edges. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'll give you my thoughts and observations on this particular type of saddle. So this ain't Fender, it ain't Gibson, this is Harmony. This is their own thing. Okay, first of all, we need to squeeze a little bit of extra length out of this saddle. Because that ridge is not dead center, it's kind of offset a little bit, we might be able to just flip that saddle and squeeze out what we need. The only time I've ever seen threads that tiny was that Burns guitar that I had in the shop last year, and it had those minuscule threads. Okay, so let's see if this is going to do it for us. We have to shift them all over. I'm just kind of toying with this saddle to see if we can squeeze the intonation out of that low string by flipping the saddle. Okay. We'll see what that gives us. So what I need to do is the inside wall here of this saddle needs to be brought down a little bit thinner just to be able to shift that back just a few thou. With the G string, yeah, it looks like I can flip that one too. So I'm going to do the same thing with the G, see how much we get out of it. Boy, again, you know, I gotta say that this BenQ light, whew, if I ever needed it, I needed it now. Lights these little screws up so I can actually see the thread. Normal light, the naked eye would barely be able to pick up that tiny little thread on this. Okay, let's try that. Well, that got us through. The intonation is perfect. 7th fret and fretted corresponding octave on each string all the way across, perfectly in tune. Loosen it one at a time here, snug it back down, checking that alignment. Okay, well that's presentable. 5th string, same thing. It wasn't very much, but it was enough to make the difference as far as string alignment. Get that D string, slip that over, and G. Put that one over, snug that down. There's our B, and there's our high E. Have another look at that. Yeah, oh boy, there is not a lot of forgiveness on either side. I just have another look at that. I think we could come a little bit more. This is a different approach altogether. Tried that. One at a time. Snug it over. I will recheck the intonation once I get this alignment done. Okay, just slipping a feeler gauge in there to hold that in place as I snug it down. Okay, that's better. Again, I put that. That's about as tight as it's going to get. This is that little palette knife I used to smooth out that tape. We're just getting ready to cut the value for the low E. Well, before I bring it in the house and plug it in, I just wanted to show you how close that tolerance is. Zero forgiveness. So as you saw, I had to shift all 6 saddles over ever so slightly to line up with the pickups and the edge of the fingerboard. So they were never right until now. It's kind of an interesting study to look at this from a design standpoint and look at the decisions that they took way back then when they were sort of walking the line between the two giants, Gibson and Fender, and they kind of went their own way, and it's kind of interesting to look at it. The travel in these saddles is nowhere near the travel that you would get in a Strat or a Tele. Yeah, it's even less than you'd get in a Les Paul bridge. So they obviously did the math to get that bridge in the right place, because I thought I would have to alter these saddles, but I managed to kind of flip them and get them all in tune, and you'll hear that in a second when I plug it in. The other thing that's kind of interesting is this tremolo. So it's kind of a one-way tremolo. You can't pull up on it, you just push down. But the bridge itself rocks on the posts. It's very stable. It comes back to center every time. And that you'll hear and see as well when I plug it in. Now, another design feature I find very interesting and a great idea is this bar adjusts. You can just finger loosen it. You can kind of turn it in the sleeve. If you want it lower, you can give it a twist. If you prefer to have the bar higher, you just turn it. I think this is a great idea. I don't know how many Strat customers I know that have spent a day and a half kind of heating the bar and bending it to get it exactly where they want it. Well, you know something? Here you go. All those years ago, Harmony, they'd already figured it out. Isn't that great? And by the way, the machining on all of these parts is impeccable, super precise. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, it's a 3-way switch like a Les Paul. So they've got volume, tone, 4 in a row instead of the sort of scattered version of the Les Paul 2 and 2. Is it better? I don't know. But it's intriguing to look at it, just like, again, from a design standpoint. So this is another feature that's kind of intriguing. It's a Fender style headstock, 6 in line, but they've tilted it back like Gibson. So they're kind of walking right up the middle between Fender and Gibson on this one. Of course, I've got a compensated nut on there now, and you'll hear just how accurate the tuning is. And again, the machining, like these tuners, are beautiful. They do not need to be changed. A very simple design that works super smooth. And one last thing, the 3-bolt neck. So bolt-on neck, 3 fasteners, very large fasteners with the little trim washers. And they've sort of scattered the centers, so nothing actually lines up with the grain of the wood. This does not shift, it's very solid. And these are the machine heads. Uber simple, just really well executed, super solid, super smooth. No need to change them. And that is the wrap up on the Harmony H19, 1964, this model. They were introduced in 1963. I was very excited when I opened the case because I thought, oh my God, this is the first guitar I ever owned in my life. let's bring it in, plug it in, and let you hear this. Okay, so here we are at long last. The other thing I did not mention is the actual taper, the neck taper on this guitar. There's almost no taper at all. It's almost like a Rickenbacker or something, where it's essentially the same width here, here, and here. It does splay out ever so slightly, but a lot less than your typical Gibson, Fender, or Martin. Let me just give you a rundown. So I have laid down a progression. This is in the key of F. So I've kind of looped that. I'm going to let that play, and then I'll blow over top. So here we go. Some pretty dirty tones in this thing too. You get the idea. I want to go back to my other stop here. And there you have it, a 1964 H19 Harmony guitar. The very first guitar that I ever had as a kid. My dad, master cabinet maker, wood carver, and contractor, had a friend of his, a Yugoslavian guy, that he took me over to and went down into Louie's basement. Wonder of wonders. The guy had guitars hanging up all over the place. I'm an 11-year-old kid. This made a big impression, man. It's still with me today. Anyway, so there you go, my first guitar. Not my actual first guitar, but the exact same model. I think mine was 1 year earlier than this. Same finish, same pickups. All these years later, I got the same one back, and now it's perfectly in tune. We'll see you next time. Cheers.